Hey everyone, welcome to Home Matters, the podcast where we help you make the most informed decisions for your home renovation and improvement projects. Whether you're swapping out windows, tackling a kitchen makeover, or getting a new roof, we've got the tips, the tricks, and the insights that you need. So let's get into today's topic. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Home Matters, the podcast that brings you closer to turning your house into a dream home. I'm your host, Alex, and today we're shining light on a topic that could only save you thousands of dollars, but also help save the planet. Yes, we're talking about solar power. So whether you're toying with the idea or ready to commit, this episode is for you. All right, let's get right into it. The first thing to consider when going solar is the type of panels that you want to install. There is monocrystalline, there is polycrystalline, and thin film, and each comes with its own pros and cons. Monocrystalline is generally more efficient, but also pricier. Polycrystalline is cheaper, but slightly less efficient. And thin film is the most budget friendly, but requires more space on your roof. All right. If you're starting out, I would first and foremost recommend that you don't start by searching on Google or anywhere on the web. And here's why. Most of the companies that are promoting solar panels, solar programs today are marketing companies, lead generation companies. And there's nothing wrong with that. After all, we are sponsored, this podcast is sponsored by Local Contractor, which is a marketplace to match contractors to homeowners. In essence, a marketing company, no different than Angie, no different than House, TaskRabbit, and many others. So there's nothing wrong with marketing companies, but the problem is that they will spend millions of dollars on ads. And if you just type in solar power for your home, you will see very quickly that there are websites that are a little bit misleading. For example, consumeraffairs.com. To the average consumer, it looks like it's a .gov website, so a website by the government, but it isn't. And so my first thing is that you don't start your journey at all on the web. You start on energy.gov. You're going to go to energy.gov and you're going to look for solar. There's an abundance of resources there, much of which I'll cover in today's episode, but you are free to go there to look at it. Okay. So again, energy.gov. Now, typically, if we're talking about residential homes, then photovoltaics is considered a PV, is what they put on your roof, where sunlight goes into the panels and it's absorbed by cells and then produces energy. So that's that. Now, there are other types of solar power, but that is mostly for commercial, where it uses mirrors to reflect and concentrate sunlight, and then it receives it to collect solar energy and convert it into heat, which is then used for electricity. But PV or photovoltaics, with the three types that we just talked about, monocrystalline, polycrystalline, and thin film, that is the type that you're going to use for a home. Now, homes that are typically not candidates for solar are typically rental homes, apartments, some townhomes. HOAs won't allow. So if you're in Florida, for example, there are many neighborhoods that will not allow it. The HOA will not allow solar panels because maybe they are attached to one another to homes. So in that case, you may want to look at community solar. So community solar is basically where you produce solar power offsite. And there is a website called Energy Sage. Energy Sage, they partner with the government in the U.S. to be able to put together these programs, right? So, and then the other thing to consider before you go solar, and again, starting your journey as a homeowner, you start your journey on energy.com, not any other website, right? So you want to find out, is your home suitable for solar? So there are a few things that you can do to find out. So first and foremost, you can look into pvwatts.nrel.gov, pvwatts.nrel.gov. That website, you put in your address, it will actually pull the property appraiser from your county's results and picture and analyze your roof for you. And it will tell you how many kilowatts per year you can save. So for example, for me, I put in my address and it said that I can produce, not save, I should say, produce somewhere between 6 to 6,300 kilowatts per year. So that's gonna give you that information up front. So you don't have to talk to any solar company. I mean, I know I am, and many are in my neighborhood tired of the solar guys coming week in, week out, knocking on the door, trying to sell solar. And it's like, we are interested, but just not ready yet. I mean, I definitely want to do it, but I need to do my research. And so I felt like this episode of the podcast was also really so good for myself and other people that I know who are interested in solar, because I've been mostly on the marketing side of solar for so many years, right? And so Energy Sage will also do that. You put in your information. You don't have to actually put your first name, last name, email, and phone number. Don't give away your personal information, because then you will be bombarded with messages. But energysage.com/solar/calculator dash results, it will give you, based on your home address and roof, which they are also pulling from the property appraisers page results, they will give you the amount of solar that you can save, right? The only thing that they can't tell you, and you will need to have a specialist come out to do, is your home suitable? So even if you own your home, it's a single family home, and the HOA allows you to do it, the question then becomes, is your roof suitable for solar? And there are a few things to consider. For example, trees, the size, the shape, the slope, so the age of the roof, right? Typically, according to energy.gov, a roof facing south with a slope of 15 to 40 degrees is really primed for solar, right? But let's take real quick now the results that I got from Energy Sage and compare the numbers. So they're saying that in a 20-year period, I would save $32,000. All right, so I did the math. I used the government calculator, which was the pvwatts.nrel.gov. And it told me that I would save around 6,200 kilowatts per year. And what I did was then I went to in Florida, calculate based on FPL's rates per kilowatt, which is 15 cents for residential. And when I multiplied that, it gave me about 15 cents times around 6,200, give me about $900 per month in savings, right? So for me, when I put that into the calculator, so 15 cents times 6,200, that's $930 per year. And if I multiply that times 20, it says I would save $18,600 in a period of 20 years. Now, the Energy Sage website says that I would save $32,000. So to me, I have to say it's probably somewhere between $18,000 and $32,000, which is still pretty good, right? I mean, it is good that you're able to save something. And then there's the question about the resale value of your home, right? So return on investments, the upfront cost of solar installation can be high if you pay out of pocket, but federal subsidies can help with that. And I'll give you more on that in a moment about different programs that there are there. But the average payback period for a solar system is around 7 to 8 years. So 7 to 8 years. And after that, it's all savings, my friends. So let's look at the calculated here return on investment as far as like the installation when you sell the home. So some installation companies, solar, will say it's 3% property increase. But typically, according to the energy.gov, it is $15,000 for the average system. And that's just based on like what your return on investment is for putting in a kitchen or a basement, right? So that's typically what the buyer and what realtors are going to value it as, right? It's not just the savings, but it's what the system is worth at that moment. Because what it comes down to is how much energy you consume. That's actually how much money you save is tied into how much you consume. So that's the question. You say, how much will I save? Well, how much do you consume is the most important thing. And then it becomes, are you buying the system versus leasing the system, right? Because if you pay it up front, you may spend up to $27,000 for an average system. And if you don't pay it out of pocket, you're going to lease it. It's going to cost you zero out of pocket up front. But it's not yours right away. So then you have to look at the contracts with the companies that lease it. When you sell a home, can you transfer it to the new owner? These are questions that you really, really have to ask because it varies from installation company to installation company. And believe me, there are thousands of solar installation companies out there. It's the contracts are all over the place, but this is so important that if you decide to lease a solar system, that you are clear on what you can and can't do and what the terms are. Really, really important for you. So again, look at the openei.org site, look at the energy.gov site, look at the pvwatts.gov site. Those three sites are going to give you a ton of information for your solar research, right? Now, the good news is there have been price drops since 2008, both on installation and on the panels. And as well as the soft costs. Soft costs are considered to be like permits and inspections, right? Now, new homeowners can also add solar as a part of their mortgage. I don't know if you knew that. I didn't know that. The FHA and Fannie Mae will allow you to add solar to your mortgage. So you have to look at what the stipulations are per state, of course, but that is an option for you. And it depends if the solar company that you work with allows that sort of a payment. And then as far as tax credits, I mean, if you look at calendar year 2022, the tax credit that you get on the federal level is a 26% tax credit to offset in your taxes, right? And then you also have, as far as like return on investment and depending on how much consumption you have what's called net metering. Net metering is basically when you generate the energy and then you export it into the grid. So you're basically selling the energy back. And I think the thing that I like most about solar energy is that it's safe and it's great for the environment. It'll decrease your carbon footprint, it'll decrease pollutants. Every research shows doesn't matter what side of the political sphere you're in, everyone agrees that it is cleaner for water and it's cleaner for the air. So overall, I'd say, look, it is a great investment. You just have to do your research on the companies that you work with. Look up their reviews, look up their FTC consumeraffairs.org.gov, not .com, and do your research on the installation companies because like every other home improvement project out there are good ones and there are bad ones. So you want to look for the really good ones. So again, as far as resources, solarenergy.org, energy.gov, energysage.com. Let's see what else. The seia.org, which is a consumer guide. If you're looking for financing, the cesa.org. You have also a program by developers where they're creating like a co-op, and that's the nrel.org. And then the community one is the icma.org. So I know that there's a lot of websites there. We're going to post it in our show notes so that you have it all in one place. And then you're not having to use Google or any other system to go look for this information. Because believe me, there are a lot of websites with misleading information. And in the age of where you have influencers and people who are endorsing products and services for money, you never know who you can trust. But that's where I'd go. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the incentives. So sales and property tax exemptions. Florida, for example, provides exemptions on sales tax and property tax for solar energy systems. So which essentially will reduce the upfront and long-term costs associated with your installation. At the federal level, as I said, you have the tax credit that you can deduct 26% for 2022, but in some cases you can deduct up to 30% for installing a solar system, and you'll offset that in your federal taxes, right? So there you go. Now, oh yes, and that one is the one that's up to 30%. I'm looking on the IRS website. It's the investment tax credit. It is, if it is applicable, it's an incentive that is applicable to installations completed between 2022 and 2032. And you can find that information in the IRS website. Now, for local incentives, there are local incentives as well. So give an example here. The city of Boynton Beach, they have an energy rebate program that offers $1,500 rebate for installing a rooftop solar photovoltaic system, provided it's 5 kilowatts or larger and completed by a certified solar contractor. So another local program is the Dunedin Solar Energy Rebate Grant, which will give you a cash back of 25 cents per solar power generated, per watt of solar power generated. So up to a maximum of $2,500. So that's pretty cool there. And then the last one is battery backup incentives. In some parts of Florida and Georgia, there are emerging incentives for battery backup systems, which can be hooked into that as well. So really some interesting programs to offset the energy consumption that we all need. It's only growing. So if you're able to get into solar, do your research. I think it requires more research than doing a kitchen remodel, bathroom remodel, because the technology is, while it's not super complex, the issue is you have a abundance of companies that are doing it, and they're not all doing it the right way, right? So do your research. Talk to people, to your neighbors, people who've done the solar, ask them what they've saved, and then compare the numbers from the state, federal, and rebates. And there you have it, your concise guide to going solar. I hope you found this episode enlightening, no pun intended. But don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with anyone you think can benefit from it. Until next time, this is Home Matters, making every house a home. Thanks for tuning in to the Home Matters podcast. Remember, a great home starts with making smart choices. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on a new episode. For more resources or to get in touch with a trusted local contractor, check out localcontractor.co. Until next time, take care and happy renovating.